I still ask you to please, try to keep your attention and energy level. What I can offer in exchange is that I will not really speak about concepts. I try to be very practical and give you some very tangible perspectives on our journey from the past couple of years in transforming this very traditional, as we spoke, pure retailing business, an important part of that business, with digital solutions and tools. And not just that we start with transforming, but then what's next? As we see. Hopefully you will recognize some of your challenges and some of your journeys as well. Briefly about myself, I'm actually a data enthusiast. I've been in the data world in different positions for close to 20 years. I'm heading now the data analytics and AI organization of MOLGroup's Digital Factory, before also in analytics and insights and in the data world, mostly at Procter & Gamble, as you see in various regional and global positions. I will start with just very briefly introducing you MOL, what is MOL and MOLGroup, because I guess most of you don't really know, and what is MOL Move for MOLGroup, then talking about our journey and a little bit about our future. So MOL is actually Eastern Europe, so Central Europe's leading oil company. It's basically a full-scale oil company. It is having an upstream business, like exploration. It's having a downstream business, refining and wholesale, and also it is having a consumer business. And now I'm going to talk about the consumer part of the business, because this is where me and my organization is mostly focused on. That's basically a retail. Here you see, some of the figures about this fuel retailing business. It was like 10 years ago that the company came up with a new strategy, which had a very important element for retail. They recognized that the mobility habits of the people are changing. Alternatives to the traditional combustion engine are obviously coming in. We don't know and didn't know how fast the transition will be, but it was clear that the transition is coming. That's why the company decided to, in fact, elevate this whole retail business into as you see here, a much more digitally driven convenience consumer goods retailer business, also beyond the pump and beyond the retail stores. And that's why Digital Factory was brought to life to lead this digital transformation. Digital Factory is actually, by now we grew into around a 700 people organization. What I think is rather unique in this organization is that it combines. It's not an IT organization. It's actually, even within the company, we have a very big IT organization. Oftentimes they don't really like us. They consider us as a shadow IT, but we are not even really IT people. Yes, we have lots of engineers, but then we also have lots of consultants. We have lots of product owners, and actually we really want to build solutions with a product mindset, always starting with the end in mind. What is the business problem that we need to solve for, and then we design solutions for that. And one of our main solutions is actually what we call and brand as MOL Move. MOL Move is basically the loyalty program of the MOL petrol stations, for the MOL petrol stations consumers. Here you see some of the recent figures. We had more than 4 million active customers. We had quite a nice and growing visit frequency of the loyalty customers, and there's a huge variance across markets. But we are a little bit above 1/4 of the transactions are now loyalty transactions, meaning that when a customer is coming in, they basically use the mobile app, scan their barcode on the mobile app, and with that we are able, basically, and that's the magic from the data point of view, we are able to see obviously all of their transactions, all of their basket contents. How the program is actually built up is that's a tier-based program. So after basically each transaction, depending on the content of the transactions, the content of the basket, the consumers receive points. After a certain thresholds, consumer move from a bronze tier to a silver tier, then to a gold tier, and then we also have a VIP tier. And then you can guess that to each of the tiers, the higher the tier, basically we have more and more benefits. We are offering discounts, for example, default discounts for the customers. Then we are also trying to do lots of personalization, personalized offering, and personalized campaigns. gamification, because we believe that that's a very important tool to also keep the consumers engaged even when they are actually not shopping, when they are do not need to fuel and they don't visit a petrol station. And more recently, we also started to add services, for example, mobile payment. But this is where we are now. But how the journey has looked like. As I mentioned, this started, actually the whole strategy was established 10 years ago, but we started to work basically on this program back in 2018, so like 8 years ago. The whole thing started with aligning the KPIs, what we want to achieve, what the business actually want to achieve, because we need to have in our digital factory, in our digital, let's say, transformation unit, we need to have the same shared KPIs as the business. We talked about this earlier today as well, and I can just strengthen and stress this point that's utmost important. That's a retail business. So what's important in a retail business? To get the consumers coming in more frequently, more visits. Once they are in, then you want them to buy more than just fuel. So basically you want to actually fuel cross purchases. For example, the gastro segment is a very important one in our petrol stations. Coffees, hot dogs, for example, and any other non-fuel products. Obviously, still the fuel is the key trip driver to our petrol stations. But once we are able to drive more cross-sell, then we also want to increase the basket size and increase the basket value. So these were pretty much those KPIs that we jointly agreed that we want to drive. How we can do that is that first we need to replace our old physical loyalty cards and physical fuel cards with a mobile app-based solution. Why is it that important? Because then we can start understanding our customers much better. We can really understand and actually track through their behaviors, track through their purchases. We can see how that our activities, our campaigns, how successful they were in driving all these KPIs. We also put lots of efforts into not into getting the personalized consents, marketing consents from the customers, because we all believed and we all understood that after a while, in order to drive these KPIs even further, we need to be much more targeted in our offering and communication. And we even learned that actually that's not just great in terms of effectiveness, but it's also ROI-wise, it is much more efficient. Since now we have a quite long enough history with the program, we were able now to see what is the payout. Based on our measurements, we understood that it takes around 2 to 3 years to basically get back our investment into that program. And since we have a constantly growing user base, the unit cost of the program is just going down as your user base is growing, which is actually a great message to the company that the investment into this program was worth it. While we were exploring this journey, from a, let's say, strategy point of view, we also had to go through this exploration from a technical point of view. It was impossible to launch the program everywhere with a full set of features, because we didn't even know in the beginning what all of this full feature set would look like. So this just gives you basically a picture of how we started to how we rolled out gradually across markets, and then how we added more and more features, more gamification, and more advanced features into the program. I wanted to zoom a little bit into the personalization part, because we believe this is the most valuable part of the entire program. This is just a framework which shows our personalization journey. Of course, it always starts with the customer shopping transactions, with historical transactions. Since we understand what each customer is buying, we were able to create based on logic, business logic and rules, customer segments. Across markets, we have 30 to 50 customer segments, and we define basically the specific offering to each of these segments, which we're able to put into an automated offering loop. As you see here, we are sending out constantly in a fully automated way overall millions of, actually in the tens of millions of communications and personalized offers to these 5 million customers that we have presently. And what is very important for us is that we keep tracking and measuring the impact. We have also quite an overarching and complex data infrastructure, which is fully integrated into the loyalty and personalization technical infrastructure, which enables us to measure the impact at every possible level. Total program level, campaign and offer type level, at the product category level and customer segments, with pretty much real-time dashboards. Why is it very important? Because we consider this really as a constant loop. We need to constantly optimize our segments and optimize our offering. This is actually how our standard, let's say, rule-based segments look like. They go back to the initial business objective in terms of what KPIs we want to move. We want to drive frequency, so we have churn prevention segments and churn prevention campaigns addressed to those segments. We have frequency booster segments. These we all define, and the customers every day we automatically redefine based on their transaction history, so that pretty much every day a customer can fall into different segments. We also have the segments focused on specific most important products for premium fuel, coffee, and hot dog, where we define the segments based on buying intensity, and when we define the offering according to the present buying intensity, there you see actually with what segment strategy and what objective you want to achieve. Of course, this wouldn't be possible without having a quite complex technical infrastructure, because we want to run everything out in an automated way end to end. So we built, at least in Central Eastern Europe, one of the biggest Salesforce infrastructure with pretty much all the key Salesforce modules included, and it's fully integrated with our ERP systems. It's fully integrated down to the individual store level with the point of sale systems. It's also fully integrated with our data infrastructure. Here you see some of the kind of like values of figures, which just illustrates the scale of this. Why is the personalization and kind of like a journey from general campaigns through to hyper-personalized or micro-segments is so important? Is because the efficiency grows as we grow up the ladder. As you can see there, ROI can actually more than triple from general campaigns through to these AI-driven campaigns. What I mean by AI-driven campaign, this just give you an example. This is an example of how we define actually, how we further, let's say, break down a strategic segment into micro-segments so that we can personalize the depths of offer. We don't necessarily want to give everyone the same discount, for example, when it comes to premium fuel. We want to make sure that we match that minimum required discount, which already triggers a purchase. We use individual historical purchase data for that, but for many customers, we don't have that specific historical purchase data. So there we use a lookalike modeling, which then we combine in an automated way into basically a micro segment that then goes automatically into and triggers Salesforce journeys. This is where we are today, and again, I just promised a sneak peek, and this was a sneak peek, but how we can expand further, how we can grow further. There are actually two ways. One is, this is where we are today. If we benchmark to other Central Eastern Europe's, let's say, key consumer applications, we are with our 5 million downloaded customers, we are basically in the bottom third, in top of the bottom third. We want to be at minimum at the bottom of the top third in a few years, actually by 2030, reaching 10 million active customers. How is it possible? We gained inspiration from the, let's say, market megatrends, how loyalty globally transforms with partnerships, with community building, gamification, the rise of the ecosystem economy and the super apps. And combine that with our existing internal strengths, we are actually pivoting into including more and more services beyond the pump, beyond the selling points and the service stations. For example, we just introduced actually the opportunity to buy highway tickets. Also, the parking tickets purchase option is going to be released very soon. And this is just the beginning. We really want to be and want to touch consumers' life across basically any activity that comes to transportation, that comes to mobility, moving from A to B. That's how we can get basically the active consumers number up. But you also recognize, and this is the second aspect about how we can scale our capabilities further, is that what we built, that can be actually also scaled outside and used outside the company. It can be even kind of like, commercialized. And actually we got approached and we started to do that as well, which is very exciting, particularly for us in Digital Factory. You will not guess in what area, actually football clubs. So we started to build fun applications for one football club, and now actually 2 additional one is in progress, using the infrastructure and using the methodologies that we actually figured, both from a technical point of view as well as from a business point of view. And we believe that actually further of such commercialization can be interesting in the future. Thank you very much. And if you're interested to talk a bit more, then I'm happy to talk in the roundtable.